Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1674B, and today's date is September 26th, 2018, and the title of the episode is The Presidential Alert Test and Full Senate Vote on Target. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about privacy on how the NSA, CIA, social media, corporations are tracking and spying on us 24/7. First, let's take a look at what happened the last couple of weeks here. Now, T-Mobile confirmed that the telecom giant suffered a security breach on its U.S. servers on August 20th that may have resulted in the leak of some personal information of up to 2 million T-Mobile customers. The leaked information included name, billing, zip code, phone number, email address, account number, and account type, prepaid or postpaid. These companies are being hacked over and over, and these hackers are downloading all this information. Apple right now has forced Facebook VPN app out of the iOS store. Why? Because they were stealing users' data. So Facebook removed its mobile VPN app called Anavo Protect from the iOS App Store after Apple declared the app violated the iPhone maker's App Store guidelines on data collection. Now, for those people who are unaware, Anavo Protect is owned by Facebook, and the VPN app was supposed to protect users' data. Instead, Anavo Protect became a data collection tool for Facebook, and it helped the company to track smartphone users. So what does this mean? It means they are watching, listening, and tracking all of us, connecting to our microphones and cameras. Now, it is up to each and every one of us to protect ourselves. How do you do this? Well, you use a VPN, virtual private network. I use Virtual Shield. It allows you to transport yourself somewhere else in the world, and the trackers will not know your true location. Now, Virtual Shield VPN is one of the easiest VPNs to use in the world, one of the fastest VPNs, and their no-log policy protects its users from any data breaches. Now, this month is Virtual Shield's end-of-month blowout sale by offering up to 70% off VPN plans and discounts on all premium add-ons, including Protection Plus, residential access, monthly maintenance, phone support, and VIP performance plans. And don't forget about IdentiSafe, which allows the customers the ability to block off computer microphone and camera access from any unwanted spies and hackers. Now, for anyone that is paranoid about the government watching or listening to every move they make via computer, IdentiSafe is for them. So check out the link below, and remember, we all have the right to remain private. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, they are struggling. Now, we need to understand what is happening here. They cannot allow Kavanaugh to be confirmed. That is their entire mission. Why? Well, Q has been telling us that once Kavanaugh is confirmed, they will have all the pieces in place to go ahead with the plan. And the storm will hit. The indictments will hit. So the deep state knows this. They know that they have to do whatever they possibly can to stop this from happening. And we can see this is what they're trying to do. Now, if we really look at this, we can see that none of these individuals have testified yet. And it looks like they're continually delaying the testifying part with all these conditions and things like that, because I think once they testify, I think that's when the entire case starts to fall apart, and they don't want this to happen. And we can see that they continually bring out more and more women, and they keep showing that Kavanaugh is a bad egg, and this is their whole entire tactic. Now, Ramirez, she is saying that she refuses to speak under oath. But of course, her attorney came out, John Klum, and said, no, my client is willing to testify, but we have conditions. And we can see right now, this is what they're trying to do. But every time they try to ask certain questions, Ramirez attorneys dodges 6 different requests to cooperate with the Judiciary Committee. So we see already they're dodging all of this. Now, when we start to look at this, we can see that they're going to continually throw more and more women at Kavanaugh. Right now, the latest accuser to come out against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh is kind of facing harsh blowback for her claim that she attended 10 high school parties at which she claims there were gang rapes that were taking place, orchestrated by Kavanaugh and a friend. I mean, how more ridiculous can we get here? And this woman is 55 years old. Julie Swetnick. 2 years older than Kavanaugh. So if we do the math, She would have been 18 years old when she attended the alleged high school parties between 81 and 83, which makes her an adult. What is she doing at a high school party as an adult? These are minors. So if she's telling the truth and did nothing about the alleged high school gang rapes, despite claiming she witnessed efforts by Mark Judge, Brett Kavanaugh, and others to cause girls to become inebriated and disoriented so they could then be gang raped in a side room or bedroom by a train of numerous boys, well, wouldn't she be in trouble? I believe she would. But again, is she going to testify? Is this under oath? No, because if any of this is under oath or testifying, they would be in trouble for lying. So Grassley is out there, and he's saying that we're going to have the vote on Friday. So he's going to schedule a Judiciary Committee vote on Friday morning. The committee vote is not mandatory, but generally following procedures. This would then set up a full Senate vote to confirm Judge Kavanaugh maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, which is October 2nd and 3rd. And we're going to get back to those dates in just a minute. Grassley sent a letter to Dianne Feinstein, and the letter reads, I write regarding your request that I postpone the hearing scheduled for Thursday, September 27th, during which we will hear Dr. Christine Blasey Ford's testimony regarding her allegations of Judge Brett Kavanaugh's conduct in high school. I respectfully decline your request. I am not going to silence Dr. Ford after I promised, and I assured her that I would provide her a safe, comfortable, and dignified opportunity to testify. Both Dr. Ford and Judge Kavanaugh have, over the last week, requested the opportunity to testify to Congress regarding Dr. Ford's allegations after a protracted negotiations with Dr. Ford's attorney, during which we postponed the hearing we had originally scheduled. Dr. Ford's attorney agreed to a hearing this Thursday. There is no reason to delay the hearing any further. Besides being unfair to Dr. Ford, whose attorneys asked for a public hearing 1 week ago, delaying the hearing for further would be unfair to Judge Kavanaugh and his family. He has asked the committee repeatedly for the chance to testify as soon as possible. He has categorically denied the allegations that have been made public. He did this in a transcribed interview with several Senate investigators under penalty of up to 5 years imprisonment for lying. We can no longer stand in the way of him presenting his testimony before the committee. It is unforgivable that Dr. Ford and her family have been subjected to threats and intimidation, but Judge Kavanaugh and his family, including his 2 young daughters, have also faced threats and intimidation. We must take his family's safety and the trauma this is causing to his young daughters into account, no less than we must account for the threats and intimidation suffered by Dr. Ford and her family. You suggest that Dr. Ford's testimony should be further delayed because of allegations made in The New Yorker by Deborah Ramirez. I am unclear why Ms. Ramirez's claim should have any bearing on Dr. Ford's testimony. In fact, the obvious connection between the 2 claims is that Senate Democrats hid both allegations of misconduct from the committee and the public. Indeed, it was reportedly Senate Democratic staff who conveyed the allegations to the media rather than alert Republican staff to conduct a bipartisan investigation. Finally, you asked that the FBI investigate Ms. Ramirez's claim. As you know, Judge Kavanaugh has gone through 6 FBI background investigations over the past 25 years. The FBI's investigations covered his time at Yale and uncovered nothing remotely similar to the misconduct alleged by Ms. Ramirez. Additionally, as the New Yorker story itself states, the publication could not confirm with other eyewitnesses that Kavanaugh was present at the party, and the New York Times spoke to several dozen people to corroborate Ms. Ramirez's allegation, but could find no one with first-hand knowledge. Indeed, the Times reports that Ms. Ramirez herself said she could not be sure Judge Kavanaugh did what he alleged in the New Yorker article. It's not clear how the FBI could further illuminate what transpired at a dormitory party 35 years ago. Even the liberal New York Times did not find these allegations fit to print. As of now, the only allegations of which the committee is aware with respect to Ms. Ramirez are the allegations described in the New Yorker. As you know, false statements made to the press are not subject to criminal penalty, but false statements to Congress are. If Ms. Ramirez submits testimony and evidence to the Senate Judiciary Committee, which committee investigators have requested, we can decide how to proceed. But at this time, Democratic staff has not shared any such evidence it has with Republican staff. And because Ms. Ramirez's allegations are unrelated to Dr. Ford's, there's no reason at all to delay the hearings on Thursday in light of these new allegations. Now, all these accusers, they have been, telling their stories, but they've been telling it to the press. They've been telling it to certain politicians, but they haven't gone under oath. And it seems like they're very nervous and afraid to do this, because if they're found out that they lied under oath, well, guess what? And they lied to Congress, guess what? They're going to be going to jail. And I think this is why they're avoiding this. So the deep state, they upped the ante. Dr. Ford has sent the Senate sworn statements from 4 people corroborating her claims. So the documents, of course, they were first obtained by USA Today, show that Christine Blasey Ford's husband and 3 friends corroborated that she disclosed to them at various points in recent years that she was allegedly assaulted. Now remember, none of these people were there. All they're saying in their sworn declarations is that Christine mentioned this to them. And they really can't get in trouble, even though it's a sworn declaration, because how do you prove that she didn't mention this to them and they're lying? Very difficult to do, so they feel safe. So her husband, Russell Ford, this is what his says. I, Russell Ford, hereby state that I am over 18 years of age and am competent to testify and have personal knowledge of the following facts. I have a Master of Science degree and a Doctor of Philosophy degree in Mechanical Engineering from Stanford University. I've been married to Christine Blasey Ford since June 2002. We have 2 children. The first time I learned that Christine had any experience with sexual assault was around the time we got married, although she did not provide any details. Christine shared the details of sexual assault during a couple therapy session in 2012. She said that in high school, she had been trapped in a room and physically restrained by one boy who was molesting her while another boy watched. She said she was eventually able to escape before she was raped, but that the experience was very traumatic because she felt like she had no control and was physically dominated. I remember her saying that the attacker's name was Brett Kavanaugh, that he was a successful lawyer who had grown up in Christine's hometown, and that he was well known in the Washington, D.C. area. In the years following the therapy sessions, we spoke a number of times about how the assault affected her. The next time she mentioned Mr. Kavanaugh was the person who sexually assaulted her was when President Trump was in the process of selecting the first nominee for the Supreme Court. Before the president had announced that Judge Neil Gorsuch was the nominee, I remember Christine saying that she was afraid that the president might nominate Mr. Kavanaugh. Now, he's saying this from the point of view that this was said during the period of time that they were going through therapy. So the notes from the therapist should be able to back all of this up if they weren't doctored in any way. And these were the original notes. And again, these notes have not been turned over as of yet. We also see that the lie detector test is going to be turned over, but it hasn't been turned over as of yet. Maybe it will in the next day or so, but at this point, it has not. The question is, if all these people know of all these things that have gone on, why didn't they go to the police, FBI first? Because it is a crime that they're reporting. Why did they go to politicians? I mean, this is very strange. So let's look at some of the phases here that we've gone through already. Phase 1, Kavanaugh was named. Bring forth a person to discredit Kavanaugh. Ford sends a letter to Congresswoman Issue, which then forwards it to Feinstein. It's not signed, it's typewritten, and people are saying that this wasn't even written by her, it's a fake. They thought that would be enough to have Kavanaugh say, okay, I'm out. Because if you look around and you look at Weinstein and all the rest that are being brought up on sexual charges and things, they step down right away. most likely because they know they're guilty and they remove themselves. Kavanaugh stood his ground. He said, you know something? This is not true. And I will testify. I will put it down in writing. Even though if I am lying, I will go to prison. So phase 1 failed. Phase 2 tried to postpone the confirmation vote. Well, that failed also because Grassley said we're not going to postpone anything. There's no reason for it. During phase 2, they also said we need an FBI investigation to postpone all this. Failed. Phase 3, put more pressure on him by having others come forward. And all of it was broadcasted through the media. Very interesting. They didn't go to the police. They didn't go to the FBI. They didn't go anywhere. Remember, the FBI has been investigating Kavanaugh since the beginning of his career. So they tried to put a lot of pressure on him right now, and he still stood his ground. He said he's not leaving. He wants to testify. He produced his calendar. He said he was a virgin. And again, they tried to postpone the confirmation vote. Failed. Phase 4. Continue to throw as many women as possible at Kavanaugh without testifying to destroy Kavanaugh's reputation and force him out or try to get the vote to go the other way because there are so many people attacking him right now where people say maybe we shouldn't have him as a Supreme Court justice, and maybe we won't get the votes in this way. I think this is going to fail once again. And if you notice, and we've said this before, none of these individuals have testified under oath. It's been with this letter that's not signed, and most of it to the mainstream media. And plus, Avante, that lawyer is out there spreading, lies and things like that. We know that most of this stuff is not true, and all they're doing is hitting the media, and they're continually delaying testifying in front of Congress. So we can see how they're trying to push this, and it looks like Grassley right now is not delaying anything. They're moving forward. So I want to go back to Q's post 2222. This was September 19th. And Anon put up and asked a question when it was Q&A with Q. Was moving the date back on POTUS FEMA presidential alert significant? Q answered, due to Kavanaugh's confirmation push, hand in hand, Rod Rosenstein stand down due to Kavanaugh's confirmation. So the presidential alert system was pushed back to October 3rd. Grassley is now saying they want the vote this week, which will then have another vote of the full Senate on October 2nd or October 3rd, which fits in exactly when they're having this test. Now, if this all stays as planned, this will happen. And I believe Q is warning us that if Kavanaugh gets in and the deep state fails, something might occur and we might see some type of blackout, maybe of social media, which I mean Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, maybe even 8chan. Maybe they'll bring parts of the internet down, who knows? Because what they'll want at that point is to have the mainstream media reporting everything that's going on right now. By having this presidential system come online, the president will be able to communicate with everyone in the United States on their mobile device, bypassing the mainstream media. So we can see that Q has been telling us that this is because of Kavanaugh, the confirmation. This is why we're having the presidential alert system, and it's hand in hand. So we're going to have to see how this all plays out, but it looks like everything is on target right now. We see the plan by the deep state to trap Trump completely failed. Remember the New York Times? They ran a story on Rosenstein where Rosenstein was going to resign because he thought he was going to be fired. And then we had, all these different congressmen come out, senators tweet that this can't happen because they were hoping that Trump was going to cross the red line. Well, it turns out that Rosenstein didn't resign. Rosenstein didn't get fired. None of this happened. Their playbook failed. The trap didn't work at all. Now what? Well, we know once everything's declassified, we know that Rosenstein continually wants to talk to Trump, most likely trying to make a deal or to stop the declassification. Rosenstein, he's in trouble. And they were trying to push their agenda, but it completely failed. And what is happening here is that more and more people are becoming aware of what's going on. They're waking up. They understand that what the mainstream media is doing is in line with the deep state. It's fake, phony, and false, and they continually push fake news. And what's very interesting, if we go back in time, General Flynn was talking about a digital army of digital soldiers. And I do believe that he was referencing Q. Listen to what he was saying.
And we have an army, okay, as a soldier and as a general, as a retired general. We have an army of digital soldiers. What we are now, what we call, I call them, because this was an insurgency, folks. This was run like an insurgency. This was irregular warfare at its finest in politics. And that story will continue to be told here. But we have what we call citizen journalists. Okay? Because the journalists that we have in our media did a disservice to themselves, actually more than they did to this country. They did a disservice to themselves because they displayed an arrogance that is unprecedented. And so the American people decided to take over the idea of information. They took over the idea of information, and they did it through social media.
Now, what he was saying is that there was a war, an insurgency, using the mainstream media. And now he is saying that we have citizen journalists, anons, alternative media, where they're looking into facts, reporting all the things the mainstream media would never report on because their masters will not allow them. And this is definitely a reference to Q. And the army is growing. Trump is out there and he's saying that he's willing to meet with Venezuela's Maduro. All options are on the table. And again, we're hearing news stories that they're preparing all these different tactics against Venezuela, that we're going to be invading and all this other stuff. And it reminds me of North Korea when 100,000 people were getting ready to invade North Korea. Yes, we're going to lose a lot of troops, but it will be worth it. The same thing's happening with Venezuela right now. That happened with North Korea. That's happening with Syria. Every time you hear this, this is the deep state's wish list. This is what they wanted to happen. They are using what they wanted and projecting it out there because they wanted a war. They really wanted to go into Venezuela and remove Maduro. They really wanted to go into Syria and remove Assad. They really wanted to have North Korea start a war. These are all the things the deep state wanted. Now, yesterday Trump came out and he said that I have no plans to meet Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. Maybe someday in the future. I am sure he's absolutely a lovely man. Now, at the time, and this was yesterday, I didn't think Trump was actually meeting with Rouhani. But I do believe they have met and they are meeting behind closed doors. They're not really discussing it out in public because there is a story that came out and it says that Iran's Rouhani calls Trump back to the negotiation table. And then it was quickly replaced with, this is not true, that Iran has never requested a meeting with Trump. And I'm starting to believe right now, just like with North Korea, that there are negotiations going on behind the scenes where they are negotiating a new deal. And we can see at this point, the deep state most likely is not happy with this because they had a deal, and this is why Kerry was out there. And Kerry wasn't out there to keep the deal together because of Iran creating a nuclear weapon or creating ballistic missiles, which is really not under the deal. He was out there trying to protect the other deal that really nobody knows about. Of course, Q and the rest of us know about, where the money was being filtered into Syria, creating uranium-1 and all those other things, trying to blame Russia for the next nuclear disaster, paying off the Iranians. All of this was done in secret. That's what he's really trying to save. And from the story and from what Trump is saying, it does seem there are negotiations in the beginning stages that are going on right now. And we'll have to see how that all plays out. Because we can see that the U.S. is now pulling some missile defense systems out of the Mideast. Now again, why would they do this? Well, Iran's really not a threat. Syria is no longer a threat. Iraq is no longer a threat. Lebanon, Libya, no longer a threat. The push to have regime change in all of these countries has fallen by the wayside. There is no reason to keep these missile systems out in these areas. And the Patriot missile defense system, what it was used for, it was to protect those countries that were protecting U.S. bases in the region. And remember, they're pulling it out of Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, all involved in having regime change in all of these countries. They were afraid of retaliation from these countries. And now they can see that the war is coming to an end. There's no reason to have these systems. Was it really for Iran? Maybe if a war broke out and the neocons started the war, but at this point, there's going to be no war. We see that more rebels have graduated from a training camp in Syria. Where is this training camp? Idlib. That's where the paid mercenary army is, and they're training more rebel fighters there. And this is why Russia, Syria have set up the demilitarization zone, trying to separate the paid mercenaries from civilians. And we can see that if this doesn't work, because we can see some of the paid mercenary forces, they are not going along with this, force will be used in this area. It seems that there was leaked photos showing that the Russian military might have already delivered the S-300 system to Syria. And once they set this up, it is game over for Israel. They're not just delivering the S-300 missile system, they're also setting up advanced electronic countermeasures, which would be installed in order to suppress satellite navigation, onboard radar systems, and communication of warplanes attacking targets on Syrian territory. We've seen what happened before in the Black Sea with one of the ships, one of the Aegis ships. One of Russia's fighter jets flew by, flipped a switch, brought the whole ship to its knees. It had to be towed back to port. And of course, Israel most likely is going to still try to go into Syria, but it's not going to work. Their systems will be brought down. The planes will be brought down. Are they really going to try this? Most likely not. Yes, are they huffing and puffing right now? But it looks like it's game over. They are locking down Syria right now. So what do we see happening all at once? We see the plan with the economy moving forward. It looks like the Fed, Trump, on the same page. We see they're trying to push Kavanaugh into office, get him confirmed. The deep state is trying everything they possibly can to ruin his reputation, so the vote swing is the opposite way. And they keep throwing more and more people out. Of course, none of these people are under oath. They're just sending it to the media to make everyone hear this, to make him fold. But for him, he knows he's innocent. He knows there's been multiple FBI investigations. For him, he signed under oath a document that says he is not involved in this. If he lied, he's going to jail. Why would he do that? Why didn't the others testify under oath if they're so positive? Why are they avoiding that? Why didn't they go to the police? So it looks like the Kavanaugh confirmation might go through. It looks like the deep state is not going to win this one. Also, if this does go through, it coincides with the presidential alert system, which is October 3rd. Very interesting. We also see the plan from the deep state to have Trump fire him. That didn't work. So their playbook is dead in the water right now. Of course, they're creating a new one right now, and we might even see some type of an event. And I believe this is why the presidential alert system is going to be put into place, tested, and ready to go when all this happens. So we can see that everything is about to hit all at once. And of course, the deep state is going to say the sky is falling, which they've already started to do. But the plan is moving forward. All the pieces are in place. Kavanaugh has to be confirmed to get the rest of the plan moving forward. And most likely, we will see this happen, hopefully, by next week. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.